Hey guys, welcome back to the Foolish Show. Of course, I am Foolish Phil. It's been a long time since I've done a video. I mean, there have been a lot of basketball games that have been late nights, and even some games on BTN Plus that I couldn't even find. So it's been a while since I've done a video. Obviously, since football's been off every week, getting ready for the playoff game and all that. So I'm back. So to quote Mike and better than ever, hopefully. Just give you my thoughts, my foolish thoughts after Michigan loses on the road. I know they say neutral court, whatever. When you play in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you're playing North Carolina, I don't really think you can call it a neutral court. But they participated in the first annual Jumpman event. I think it was Florida, Oklahoma, North Carolina, and of course Michigan, sponsored by Jordan Brand. So cool that they got to do that. Michigan really was coming into this hoping to get a victory to give any worthwhile victory in their preseason or pre-Big Ten, their non-conference slate, and it was kind of almost like if they don't get this win versus North Carolina, their best win for the non-conference is Pitt, who's a most likely middle-of-the-road ACC team. So that's kind of what they got, because Michigan, again, was in the game, but not able to get over the hump. At one point in the first half, Michigan was getting what they wanted, getting defensive stops, getting fast breaks, getting some layups. They led 20-12, right? But then North Carolina started getting into it a little bit, and I guess really what you really have to understand, this is a big underlying thing. The refs were just trash in the first half. They were letting way too much go, like way too much physical play, and it obviously it culminated when Hunter Dickinson elbowed Bacot. What's his name? Bacot. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong. I wish I remember how they said it, but their best player for North Carolina, and elbowed him in the head, and he got a bloody lip, and that totally should have been called, and should have been a flagrant foul, and all that. But the refs didn't call it, and of course that makes UNC's head coach Hubert Davis go berserk. Doesn't get a tech, whatever. The thing he did was he fired up his team, and from that point on, I believe it was North Carolina went on a 19-8 run, and so they ended up having a 7-point lead at the end of the first half. Again, staying on the first half theme, Michigan really suffered again when Jet Howard picked up two weak foul calls. That's what I despise so much about basketball, is they're letting these big guys, Hunter and the centers, bang, bang, bang down there, and then they called the most trash hand-checking fouls ever, and Jet Howard gets 2 fouls and has to sit down with 10 minutes to go in the first half. That also played into a part. He was, I think, at 8 points in the first half on 3 of 3 shooting. He was playing really well. All of a sudden, you got to sit down because we've called you 2 trash fouls on you. Great, thanks. Fouls, it is what it is. The refs didn't call anything. Then, of course, what do? They totally overcorrect and call all the ticky-tack trash calls that make basketball terrible. And that's what happened. So it's really hard for the players to understand what are the refs going to call now, because they were trash to start with and they're trash at the end, so it's hard to adjust. And then you have, it's just who can adjust well and who doesn't get screwed over by the refs the most. You might say that's just pretty much every basketball, any sporting game, who doesn't get screwed by the refs. In this situation, I think it was pretty well even. There were just a couple plays that, you can look at back and say, that was a bad call. And I do appreciate when ESPN will eventually show your replay. And, then there's pretty much evidence that's what, the color announcer says. Well, you can pretty much see it for yourself. That was all ball. But, they call a foul, and this is what it is. And you move on. The refs blew the call. It is what it is. It's annoying when your team has it go against you. But another big theme of this is Hunter Dickinson continued to royally suck against North Carolina. It's almost like a mental roadblock to him that Bacot, that's how you say his name, just physically dominates him. And you could see where Hunter just was afraid to go to get contact. I guess when you get hacked and they don't call it, that doesn't feel so good, right? I get it. But when the refs started calling every little tic-tac foul, you see Hunter Dickinson just settling for jump shots where the defense is just laying off him, take that, Hunter, and, airballing these shots. Okay. He finished with under double digits, 9 points. The last time I looked at his official shot count, it was 2 of 8 or something. He got a couple layups in there, but just totally dominated. Bacot totally dominated. He had 26 points and 5 rebounds. Just owned Dickinson. And Michigan has played North Carolina, I think, 3 times in the last 4 years. And whenever it's been this matchup, Hunter versus him, it's like, maybe it's just 2 games, right? But Bacot has just dominated. And Hunter, it's like set up, oh, this is going to be a great matchup. And no, Hunter just becomes a shell of himself. And that's disappointing in that way. He just like doesn't want to go that physicalness that North Carolina brings. And I was wondering if it would happen again as he's a junior, but Hunter just was a ghost of himself again tonight. You got to give credit to Jet Howard. He had let me look here. He had 17 points. Buffkin had 22. Like awesome, but no one else got into double figures, and really the bench was pretty much worthless again. You have Baker had 9 points, but he got that 3 just as time was expiring, so really had 6 in meaningful time. Reed had 4 points, but all those were in the first half. So you only get, like 13 points off the bench, and really you only had 10 in meaningful minutes, so that's just really poor again. Again, it just speaks to role players are not stepping up well enough, and obviously the bench is just kind of in flux here with Llewellyn out with the torn ACL, I think it was. So Michigan's got to get something going, and they're just not. You see potential when you see this team. That's the problem. You see them move the ball. You see them actually hit their wide open shots, but they just don't do it enough. And it's frustrating in that way that Michigan, which could be playing better and have a much better record, is not. And just to circle all back around, like I said, this North Carolina game was kind of like a must-win to make your non-conference look decent. Didn't happen. So, I mean, really, Michigan has nothing to go off of their non-conference. They're going to have to be middling good, like kind of get in the middle of a loaded Big Ten and hope that maybe their name gets them in. Because I don't see Michigan finishing in the top half of the Big Ten. If they would finish 14 teams, if they would finish in the top 7, I'll be surprised, honestly. I guess Minnesota's down here, right? So they can. There's 13 teams to compete with. Do you think Michigan's going to be in the top 7 of the Big Ten? I would say no. No. I just think this team doesn't have enough guard play, is going to get tired, is going to lose interest, and unless they can come off and get some big win, like on the road, or probably not, it's not going to happen on the road, but get a big win versus a rival, like if you could come up and play well against Michigan State or Purdue or something like they did last year. They had some big wins, at home, and that kind of propelled them into the, give them some momentum. But right now, it just seems it's another one of those games where Michigan's close right. It was down to like 2 points, and you get just where you don't quite execute. You get the ball out of bounds, which Howard wanted reviewed. He didn't get it. It was under 2 minutes. For some reason, the ref decided not to review it. That really ticked him off. So, but you just get the plays where you just don't make it, Yeah, Williams was probably out of bounds, but the refs don't even review it. Like, why not? And that just ticks him off and ticks off the fans, like me. It is what it is. I get mad, and then I remember it's just a game. So I try not to get too upset about it. But when I'm watching, I don't feel that way. Michigan goes down, finishes basically the meat of their non-conference. They might have like one more cupcake game, which aren't cupcake games. Just look at Lipscomb, which was not a cupcake game at all. So this team kind of plays to their competition. They just haven't beaten Virginia. They haven't beaten Kentucky. Now they haven't beaten North Carolina. They're in the game. They're not getting blown out. They just don't get the win. And that's the problem. You got to win. You can't say, we were in those games. Look at us. We were in those games. That's it's not going to work. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any thoughts you would like me to know, please put them in the box below. I'll try to respond as I'm able to. Until I see you guys next time, as always, go blue.